Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine, Krnjetin, and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
Hey, all right, another episode of Agent Upgrade with Alan and Jasmine. Exciting episode. It's just going to be us talking about something that's very, very important today for every real estate agent. Every real estate agent has to make this decision, Jasmine, before they even get to work. And then even while they're working, they still are constantly saying, did I make the right choice? Is this where I want to be? So what are we talking about today, Jasmine?
We are going to be talking about finding a new real estate brokerage. Should you stay or should you go?
Yeah. And maybe it's finding your first real estate brokerage is the question for some of those new agents out there. That's a question every real estate agent has asked themselves. And I promise you, they've asked 3 or 5 other real estate agents that same question too. So a very, very common question. So I thought maybe we just discuss the pros and cons of every real estate brokerage, that's maybe in your area and out there, and we figure out what's the right fit and what questions you should be asking. I've recently switched brokerages. This will be the 3rd time I've switched brokerages, and so I've asked this question myself quite often, and so maybe we'll get into it and get started.
I like it. Yeah, I have been with the same company. I've been in the mortgage business for about 20 years, and I have been with 3 companies. So I tend to change once every 7 years.
That's healthy. Like, I think you probably think like me, like, hey, I've outgrown a certain step and I want to take it the next step in my career, or hey, is the grass greener over there, and whatnot. And, what I've learned we've talked about this before. I think we've both experienced the same thing. Our clients, honestly, at the end of the day, typically don't care what brokerage we work for. They want to work with us, right? They want to work with you. They want to work with me. And if I'm switching brokerages, they follow along. And the conversations I've had with the clients is they didn't even realize that I didn't own the company. Like, I was working for a small boutique brokerage in Atlanta, and then I switched to Compass, which is in most states a national brand. And they'd be like, "Oh, Alan, you sold your real estate brokerage in Atlanta, and then now you started a new tech startup called Compass?" And I'm like, no, that's not how any of this works. And then I left Compass and went back to that real estate company, and they're, the few that picked up on it and didn't even notice, they're like, "Oh, so you sold your company to Compass? Congrats." And I'm like, "No, that's not how this works." And then now I've switched to another national company, and I imagine that those questions will be coming as well. So at the end of the day, they trust you as a resource, as a real estate expert, and they're going to follow in your path, just like, when you switch 3, I've used you through 2 companies, I think, Jasmine. My clients didn't notice at all. And it's a little disruptive at first when you're trying to learn new systems and stuff. But I want to cover a couple points. I would say, regardless of the brokerage you join, my usually blanket advice is don't use that brokerage's email and their CRM system. Whatever in-house system they have, or if you get to use Alan at realestatebrokerage.com, don't do it. Because then that's where you're stuck, right? That's where if you do find that it was not the right fit and you want to switch, it's very, very difficult to change your email address, your branding, try to get your info out of a CRM system that's only in-house, and then transport it into a new system. So my blanket advice to all agents is, that basically have your own email address, have your own CRM system, that it doesn't matter. It's not related to your real estate broker.
And while you're at it, go ahead and get your own domain.
Yeah.
Don't use a Gmail address. Actually get like, whatever, alancorey.com and just have your own domain. Because I think we talked about this before, it's just so much more professional when it comes from a domain that has your name in it. You seem like a company, you seem like somebody that's legit, that's not using a Yahoo or an AOL account. So yeah, it's not a very big investment. What does a domain cost? Like $36 a year, maybe?
Yeah, maybe cheaper than that now, but 100% don't use your Gmail, Yahoo, whatever, Hotmail. You don't look like you're a full-time real estate agent.
Yeah.
Get one that has your name, and you should be good to go. There's
I
now
mean,
laws.
ultimately, if you don't want to build like a big fancy website, you could point your domain to the Compass website that they made for you if you don't want to mess with building your own website. But I mean, it's relative.
I did that too. So I'm not at Compass anymore, but what I did was alancorey.com would redirect to the Compass webpage, and it had my face, my info, all my listings. Because at the end of the day, I knew no matter what I did, my domain alancorey.com, I would never build a website better than Zillow. I would never build a website better than realtor.com. I would never build a website, any of those machines, those massive machines. And all my clients are going to Zillow anyway. So when I first started, I did build my own website, and it was the leads I got off of it were not leads that you want, because the people who were going to alancorey.com to find houses were not educated buyers, honestly, because they weren't people in my network. They weren't people in my sphere of influence. I don't know what they must have found my website on like page 45 of Google, searching, real estate in Atlanta, and those guys are not in the position to buy real estate. They can't even figure out Google. They're not going to be able to figure out how to get pre-qualification, much less buy a home. So I just redirected it. Eventually, what I did is it redirected to my Zillow page, because that's where I found all my clients were going. That's where all my reviews were coming from, 5-star reviews or whatever. Like, I just had alancorey.com redirect to Zillow, and that worked for me for like 7 years. And just recently, I've sort of started tinkering with creating my own website, but it's bare bones. And you go there, and then it redirects to my Zillow when you click on a link, kind of thing. But I think that's great advice for sure.
Yeah, and that makes it easy for you to point a domain wherever you go. And as long as the name, the email address is never going to change. So, whatever, pick a good name so that you can stick with it for the long term.
And they've started making this rule change in some states, and it's slowly going nationwide. Typically, if you are in the business and you don't own your own brokerage, you can't have real estate in your name, realty in your name, company, associates, partners. There's a lot of confusion, like I alluded to at the beginning, where people thought I owned Keller Knapp Realty or Compass Realty, these brokerages I formerly worked for, and that I've sold these companies. That there is confusion. So they're passing these laws saying you can't have those in your email address. You can't even have those in your team name, because it is causing. So you should use your name. You can use realtor or real estate agent or team, but you can't just say, I used to have Corey Real Estate, and that's no longer allowed. So now I'm Alan Corey, realtor kind of thing. So that's sort of become my branding. So keep that in mind if you're starting from scratch.
So I guess talk to us a little bit about what prompted the change for you. What kind of thought process did you go through, and what questions did you answer in your own mind?
Yeah. So that's I didn't prep for this answer, but that's a good question. Well, I don't know, how do I succinctly wrap this up? Well, personally and professionally, I am trying to turn myself into more of a national real estate advisor for real estate agents, real estate investors, and whatnot. So I wanted a brokerage that had a national presence, and so that brings me a couple things. Because from doing this show, from doing my live streams, I get real estate agents calling me from all over the United States. and they're wanting real estate advice, and I'm happy to give it to them. And that question that we're talking about, what brokerage should I join, is difficult for me to ask when I am in a small boutique brokerage only in my town. I would love to say, well, this is the brokerage I'm in. It's got a national name, national presence, and I can introduce you to some local brokers in that space, and you can pick their brain. But this is what I know about it. Mm-hmm. Also, I love passive income. That's how I got into real estate, through real estate investing. And I love thinking about retirement, specifically early retirement. So
can I stop you right there? Yeah. I think you like thinking about retirement. You're never actually going to retire. You just like to think about it.
Okay, fair point.
Because you are a powerhouse. You're going to keep going until you drop.
Okay.
Let's just be clear about that.
So I do like thinking about this, and I write about this in my books and stuff. So what I am thinking about is that how am I going to exit being a real estate agent, right? And I came to three sort of paths. One was, lead a team and just get excited about that, growing as big a team as possible, take no clients anymore, and sort of just give out all my leads to my team. That's one path. Two, start my own brokerage. And then I have a brokerage of agents that I can mentor and advise, and similar to a team setting as well. Or three, advise and mentor a national, string of real estate agents. And there's programs that all these national brokerages have that sort of, they refer to it as a downline kind of thing, where, hey, if someone joins, regardless of city, regardless of state, regardless of how productive they are, regardless if they're on my team or not, then I'm incentivized to support them and advise them and mentor them, because the way it works is they'll give you, a small chunk of change from every transaction that they do. That money does not come out of that real estate agent's pocket. It comes out of the brokerage's pocket. And that's something that only national brokerages can provide, because they've got so much business that would make or break some of the smaller local boutique brokerages. Mm-hmm. So I took those paths, and I sort of came up with a mix of the two. So I've now got my own team, and I'm still hiring for my team. So if you're local in Atlanta, this sounds exciting. I want to just mentor my team in Atlanta, give my leads that this podcast and my other live streams and books are all generating. I can't handle it all myself. Give that to my team, mentor them, help them. But then also, because I'm pushing myself to be bigger than the city of Atlanta and talking to these agents, I can say, listen, you join the brokerage and you choose me as a sponsor, I will mentor you all day. I will coach you just like you hear on this podcast. I will make time. I will do the phone calls, because otherwise, I just don't have the time to say yes to everyone. But now, if you're in my quote unquote downline, and I turn you into a top producer that you are very capable of being, and I can assist you and get you there, hey, and when I'm officially retired and no longer talking, and you're super successful, I'll get $150, $200 out of every transaction you do. Feel very proud about it and very rewarded financially. Even in all those rough years at the beginning, paid off. So that I guess in a nutshell, I wanted an exit plan of being a real estate agent, which we should all think about, because otherwise you're working till you die. How many people have done a deal with an 85-year-old real estate agent who is trying to fax you something and everything's handwritten? I didn't want to be that person, but I understand some people are put in that position because there is no passive income stream being a real estate agent. You either have to invest in real estate for a passive income stream, or find some sort of national brokerage that has this sort of downline and recruitment. Now, I will never be that person. I don't even want to say what brokerage I've joined, because I don't want to be that person that's recruiting anyone. Thankfully, I'm in a position, people are calling me and asking me this question. And as a salesperson, I felt like I was throwing away money without jumping on these opportunities. So I'm going to always leave it that way, let people call me and require, and I will never call out or advertise my brokerage. But I think naturally, just by doing what I'm doing, it'll serve well for me 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road when I'm finally ready to rest and relax. So that's why I personally did it. So a long way to answer your short question. So
I like that. I like that. I think that that's all. I think that it's important to, since you have been in business for a long time, I think that the real estate agents that we are coaching are eventually going to get to that place where they also really need to think about that. So if they kind of start putting the different pieces into play now, then it's going to make it easier. And I think that, I think that social media is one of the maybe a small component, but a component that I feel is making it so that it is important for most real estate agents to have a national presence. Because when you get your 1 million followers on TikTok, right, you're only going to be able to do 3 of those transactions. And unless you have a company that you can refer business out and make that easy for you, like, I feel that it's just more important now than ever to think in those terms. You want to have really good local support. You want to have a really good, trustworthy broker that can help you, but also just kind of keep an eye out to, like, what happens if I get a referral here, there, wherever, that you want to be able to get a referral fee.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 100%. Like I would say probably about a third of all my clients who are listing to sell are moving out of city, out of state, across the country. And I would love to refer that person to someone within the same brokerage. I think that's a cleaner handoff. Right now, I'm randomly calling brokerages, agents, and trying to find the right match for someone. But if I had someone, obviously in my downline that lived in, California, and my clients moved to California, that'd be the first person I called. But but if not, I think it's a cleaner handoff for my clients to hand it off to a national person. But I want to circle back to, like, another question that gets quite frequently asked of me is, I'm a new agent. What's the best brokerage for new agents? And what I hear when I ask that question is, who's going to train me the most? I do think national brands, again, also seem to have the best built-in training program because they've been working it. They've got the staff, they've got the resources to build a training program in-house. And so I typically recommend, even before I was at a national chain, I would tell every agent, go join a national chain to get trained up. And then secondly, it's what do you want? Do you need that hand holding? What kind of work environment do you want? Do you want to go into an office and see 10 people working at a desk and there's a lot of water cooler talk because that's you need to get out of the house and you need that interaction? Are you someone who is very self-motivated, can sit at the desk and just knock things out, and you just want a resource, a call, an email, email chat away kind of thing? All these different things go into deciding what a brokerage. I think every brokerage will disappoint every agent in training. I think, real estate agents get their license, they join a brokerage, and they think, like they did at the 9-to-5 job, hey, here's so-and-so, they're going to be your mentor, they're going to walk you through how to do XYZ, just shadow them, and you're going to be a great real estate agent. That's very, very difficult when, honestly, most relationships is, hey, this is your mentor who, we're not going to specifically say it, but it's really your competition. And you guys are working the exact same market, and they're going to keep their cards close to their chest and not teach you everything, because if you're successful, they may be thinking you're taking away from them. That's completely taken away if you have this sort of mentor that you picked as your sponsor, and then all day I want to help that person because I'm thinking retirement. I'm thinking 10 years down the line. I'm thinking 15 years down the line. And that's where I naturally live. I know the healthiest mindsets live in the present. And I think, Jasmine, you live there. You're very open and present, and you're very specific about what I'm doing today. Some people live in the past and they relive their glory days, or I wish I did that, or I could have done that. I always live in the future, and I'm like, I want to be financially free in 10 years from now. I want to have this in 15 years from now. I want to achieve this in 10 years from now. That's my thought process. So that goes into this decision as well. Is if I help this person and this person is going to kill it in 10 years, that's when the payoff's going to happen for me. That's sort of where I live. And I think people need to really recognize that, like, you're going to be paired up with someone to teach you, quote unquote, in most brokerages, and they don't want to have the time. There's usually not something in it for them, even though people can be as altruistic as they are on the surface. Ultimately, they're going to work themselves. I get quite often questions from new agents. Hey, I joined this brokerage, Alan, because you're here. Can I ride along with you and show me your day? And I don't know how to answer that, because I was like, listen, no, because I don't know who's going to call me when. I don't know what email I'm going to get when, where, hey, I want to go see this house in an hour. Or, hey, Alan, can you do this? Can you do that? And the fact, I'm so busy, I'm not going to stop my day, reach out to you. Hey, can I come pick you up? I'm going to go do X, Y, Z, and then I'm going to do this. And I would love to do that, but my day is typically so chaotic based on what needs to be done that day that I can't plan for that and then add an extra layer of difficulty for me being productive. And it's not me being a jerk, and it's not me trying to hide. I do this show to teach you everything, but it's really a difficult ask to really follow the shoes. And I'm just automatically doing things, and I don't know how to teach you, I'm just calling someone randomly on the phone, returning a message. It's tough for me to stop and say, the reason I'm calling this and the reason I'm saying this is just, I don't have time for it, honestly.
Yeah, I was part of a really good coaching program for many years, and part of so we would have a different coach for every quarter. We would have a different coach, and one of the things every quarter that you had the option of was going to your mentor's office and doing a site visit for a day. And of course, these are all people with bigger teams. And of course, I'm in the mortgage business, so there is a lot more in office than out of the office stuff. But I found that to be super helpful, because I could see somebody that's bringing it back to your point. Like, it's way easier to be completely transparent and an open book with somebody that's doing the exact same thing you are doing in Nevada. Right. So if they start calling, if you figured out this niche way to get for sale by owner, blah, 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 right? It's so much easier than if you're giving away your secret sauce to a guy that's going to knock on 2 doors down from you. So I think the national part feeds into it, but it was super helpful to the coaches would put together a whole day of this is our team meeting, and you get to sit in on their team meeting, and then you got to follow the loan opener and the loan closer and all the different parts of it. And meanwhile, I'm just taking notes, and I'm like, hey, I need to have person A start doing this, and then we need to send out this letter. And so I learned a whole lot from these site visits. And so I'm curious if there could be a way to create some sort of a site visit situation with, when you're coaching people nationwide, you could be even a Zoom, Alan in his bathrobe with a coffee cup, all right, so we wake up in the morning.
Right. Yeah, no, I love that.
I guess I wanted to, so I think what we figured out is you're going to find a new brokerage. You're going to figure out what you want to do. Then you need to make a plan for the transactions that are kind of in between. So how have you handled that piece of it? How have you have all of your client data, right? You're not using the CRM, so you don't need to wait for the client data to come in. But what about the deals that are in? How much?
Yeah, well, the way it works here typically is if you have something under contract that stays with your old brokerage, you still get paid for it. You're the name of the brokerage on it, your client. Any buyer agreements you may have, you would want to get them re-signed with a new buyer brokerage agreement. That would be maybe your brokerage would would not allow you to do that. Really depends your relationship and what brokerage you're with, whether you can shift them over. But I promise you, if you've been a pretty cool agent, none of them are going to say, I want to stay with this old brokerage and work with someone new after you've shown them a few homes. They're all going to say, yeah, I'll sign a new broker agreement with you in most cases. If you've got any listings, that's where things get a little tricky. And you would have to have a conversation with your broker and say, hey, I've got a listing, it's live. Can I switch this over to my new brokerage, or can we work out an agreement and I'll leave it here and I get paid through you, sort of situation. So that really the only tricky stuff is listings that are live and not under contract yet. But things that are already under contract, you can't shift those over. Buyer or listing agreements, you can't switch those over unless the client agrees to switch them over, kind of thing. And so that's sort of what just things to think out about. But this happens all the time. This is commonplace for every managing broker. People do this all the time. They've outgrown their careers, or they want to switch, or they want a different cultural fit, or they want a different training program, or they want a national presence, whatever it may be. These things happen all the time. And I think brokers have a thick enough skin that they don't take it personally anymore,
So now, are you going to reach out to your clients and let them know that you've switched brokerages or not?
I don't think I am, because I don't think it yet. Well, I guess it's twofold. If there's something that this new brokerage can do for my clients, then I would say, hey, I've switched brokerages, so now I can provide you X. If it's, hey, I know a lot of you clients wanted me to do Y. I can now do Y because I've switched brokerages. That's what I would reach out and do. And I think that's a really good question. One thing I learned, I was switching brokerages before because I felt like I was at my first brokerage for 4 years, and I learned everything I could from everyone in that brokerage, and just sucked in all their knowledge and had questions and questions. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't think there's anything else that I can learn here. Like I've asked all the right people, all the right questions. And I need to switch brokers so I can learn more. I want to know Compass's secret, right? And so then that's why I picked them. Being in New York, I used Compass agents before I was a real estate agent in New York. So I was like, I like the tech startup-y, and I liked what they were doing. And I went over to Compass, and I was like, wanted to learn, teach me everything, teach everything. And what I realized is they're teaching the exact same stuff. Like there's no secret sauce. It's not like one brokerage is like, this is our way, don't tell anyone. We all work the exact same way. We all use the same systems. And they all cater to new agents, because new agents have the most questions. So all the training programs are kind of catered to newer agents. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm not learning anything new. I know all this stuff. Where's the advanced stuff? And they don't exist. Like, you have to go to podcasts. You have to go to YouTube. You have to have a mentor, a top producing mentor or a coach to learn the advanced stuff, new stuff. And so then I was like, well, I'm giving up too much of my commission to not learn anything new. So then a year later, switched back to my local boutique brokerage. And then now at the same place, I sort of got resettled. I didn't make a huge announcement there. My email stayed the same, things like that. And then now I'm switching again. And it's not for me to learn anything. It's just to have more of a national presence and, have a network of much bigger agents so that I can get them on this show, or have them, when I'm visiting out of town, I can say, oh, I'm a brokerage in my town at the same brokerage. Let's meet up, and I want to hear about real estate here. I've got an investor who's wants to invest in your city, in your state, and all that. So, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think one little known or a little thought of fact is that there is so much crossover between mortgages and real estate, like the mortgage bankers and the realtors. And I find that, like you were talking about, like podcasts, like I feel like I can listen to a bunch of real estate agent geared podcasts and just pick up nuggets. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do that on my team. I'm going to do that. And I feel I don't see a lot of agents listening to mortgage stuff and looking for nuggets, but we are kind of running a very similar shop. You know what I mean? Like, we're in a very similar field. The bigger mortgage teams. That's very common. The way you build your team, the way you build your team as an agent, the way you build your team as a mortgage banker, it's all very similar. So just as a pro tip, if you start looking up mortgage podcasts, you may be able to pick up some good intel as well.
No, I agree, because it's all, a lot of it, it's all about building systems and being efficient, and recognizing anything that you repeat on a daily basis that could be replaced by software or a template or anything that's repetitive, a virtual assistant even. And a lot of times that's the way to grow, is sort of figure out what you can replicate, what you're doing over and over again, and say, is there a bot that can do this, or usually it's a software program that will solve that problem, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think to some of the things that I have heard people kind of list out as reasons why you would want to change a brokerage, like we talked about, like opportunity for growth, and then, educational resources, training. Sometimes you're at a brokerage where you don't feel that you're getting enough support. And that's a key piece to whether you stay at a brokerage. And then also sometimes I have heard agents just talk about like their leadership team, just kind of got a little bit wonky, right? And there was a lot of drama and politics, and people are leaving the brokerage because of, the funkiness of the leadership team. And then there was also, like, maybe at one point that particular place was a really good cultural fit for you, right? And all the people that were in the office or that were your peers were kind of similar, and now all of a sudden, everything is shifting. So maybe there's just like a lack of a cultural fit. And then I don't know that I support the idea of like changing just because of the splits, right? Because I mean, any which way you slice it, right? I mean, I think that there's like the discount brokerages where you pay like a few $100s for every deal. But I think in general, the bigger players are going to have a similar, I mean, everything is said and done, it may sound really, really good. Oh, it's only 10%, blah, blah, blah. But, once you're a year into it and you look back, it's like, hey, wait, that was way more than $16,000 in the cap. So I think that just leaving for a financial reason, that would probably be, I don't know that, I mean, and you could always keep switching. There's always going to be somebody that's going to come up with something that's going to sound better. But I think ultimately, there isn't a whole lot of money that's made, I don't think, like by the real estate brokerages. They make money when there's a lot of people and a lot of numbers, but like per deal, I think it's going to shake out to be about the same.
Yeah, I don't think any brokerage is going to make or break your lead generation, your workflow, things like that. Possibly if you're new, it might be good to get in with the brokerage that owns the neighborhood that you want to sell, and everyone uses that same brokerage for that neighborhood. That might be a way to toe in the water. But alternatively, you can also say, listen, no, I want to be the different person in this neighborhood, offer a competitive, option, so that now, people who don't like that one local person, they're going to use the next local brokerage or whatever. That you can. What fork do you want to be? You want to blend in and sort of piggyback off what's already there. There's many cases of way to succeed and sort of toe your water and sort of share the spotlight of the dominating brokers in the area and brokerages. Or you can be like the fish out of water and stand out and be fresh and original and new, and people are going to get excited about that. So I don't think there's a wrong decision. It's whatever you find fits your personality and where you are in your career right now, and do you want to stand out and offer something different, or sort of ride the wave of not reinvent the wheel of already what's working in your market.
What are your thoughts on, and I know that you've definitely probably toyed with this idea as well, what are your thoughts on starting your own brokerage versus joining another one?
I pulled you into a lot of this thought process and started my own brokerage. Ultimately, it came down to this. I am going to have to compete to be long-term successful with the national brands who've been doing this for 30 years, 50 years, whatnot, right? The ones that are in every single state, the ones that have $1 billion in venture capital funding. They have all the cool websites and the tools and the built-in CRMs and the, a staff of 10 graphic artists and things like that. That's the reason why they take a bigger chunk of your commission to support all those things. I can't go head to head with them. Like it's the new tech startups in the brokerage space are all online. They're all digital because that's the only way you can kind of compete, right? So ultimately, having to compete with that dollars, I didn't see that it was viable. I also see that long term, our business is going to have a lot more competition with iBuying programs, websites that try to cut out the real estate agent. I think there is a space in the market for them to succeed. I don't think they're going to wipe out my profession, but I feel like it's going to take a hit. I feel like it's going to be harder to make as much money as we do moving on in the future because you have so much competition and so much dollars from these big players that ultimately you either got to fight them or join them. And at least where I'm in my career, I'm 43. I feel like that. Maybe if I was 23, I would be so ambitious and I could take them on and you got to do it this way. I'd rather focus on keeping my clients happy than starting a brand new business, fighting the big guys that may detract from helping my clients or helping the agents on my team or helping agents nationally in my downline kind of thing.
I like that. I think there's also like the whole, the legal aspect of running your own brokerage. I mean, maybe if you were just a 1 or a 2 man show, you wanted to keep it small, maybe there's a place for that. But even then, just the liability that you take on with potential lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. I feel like when you join a brokerage, you kind of have a little bit of a shield there legally helping you.
100%. Red tape, all that stuff is my, I don't enjoy it. Yeah, I avoid all that stuff at all costs. I'm happy to say, oh, you got a problem. Talk to the real estate association. Talk to this broker. Like, I definitely wanted to outsource that. So I'll gladly pay my commission, my cap it's like I would have to pay more than that to have my own in-house lawyer or a lawyer on retainer to bounce all these questions off of all the time. Gladly to have pay a commission to have an in-house person do that for sure. That's very important that a lot of sort of local brokerages may not think about.
Yeah.
And it might make sense if it's just like a husband and wife team or something like that, or 2-person spouse. And it's like, hey, I know I'm going to operate within the law, but if you're trying to open up a brokerage that has 20 agents, 50 agents underneath you, multiple offices, the oversight on that, you're going to need a lot of, legal advice. There's just going to be sloppy contracts that are written. I heard a friend of mine tell me he tried that route once, and one of his newer agents started his own website, copy and pasted photos from another agent's website onto his. And he had no idea of this. This didn't happen. He was an eager agent trying to launch his first website. And boom, a huge lawsuit for, copyright images, all this stuff. He had to take it to court, settle it out of court. I think it cost him a couple $100,000. And he's like, brokerage life,
Wow.
Well, wasn't worth it.
No. Not cool. Yeah. So I think we've kind of helped our agents think through this. I know it's never an easy decision, but sometimes it is the right thing to do. I wouldn't take it lightly. I wouldn't do it all the time because it does distract you from what is important, which is selling homes and prospecting. So, but there is a time and place, and it's good to know that even seasoned agents like you sometimes need to make a change and
yeah. I don't think I'll say it again. I don't think any brokerage, like if you're like, I'm not getting any sales, I'm not getting any listings, I'm not getting clients.
That's not a reason. It's not them. It's you.
Yeah. It's not the brokerage. That switching brokerage is not going to change that. You're still going to have to put in the work. You're still going to have to reach out to your sphere of influence. You're still going to have to hustle. The brokerage will never provide that for you, okay? Yeah. Maybe a team leader would. Maybe a team mentor can kind of get you held accountable, but a brokerage will never. So don't switch because of that reason, because that's why I think agents switch often, and then they're continuously disappointed, and then they switch again, and they're disappointed. And it's like, listen, again, it's this. We're ultimately our own company. We're entrepreneurs. We only are our own, LLC in many cases, and so you got to operate and act that way regardless of the brokerage that you're under.
No matter how fancy the CRM, unless you're putting people in there, it ain't going to do nothing on its own.
Yeah, well, yeah, 100%. So,
Sweet.
So that's in a nutshell. If you're considering switching brokerages, just, this is all my advice for you. And, grass is not always greener. Sometimes it is. A lot of times it comes down to the cultural fit and what your goals are in your career. And that's what it's always been for me, is what's my next goal in my career. So that's it. So thanks for exploring that with me, Jasmine. This dedicated episode to figuring out if a brokerage switch makes sense. It's a common question, and hopefully we help some people here. And I'm always open to talking to anyone who has questions on this. And I'm always transparent. Whatever brokerage, I want to tell you the good, bad, and ugly, because I don't want to mislead anyone. Not every brokerage is a perfect fit for everyone. So just be aware of that too.
Sounds awesome. Well, I love it. Thanks, Alan. This was fun, and the best of luck out there, people.
Yeah, and please, I'll throw this out real quick. Check out Agent Upgrade. Please leave us a review on the podcast that you listen to us on. Every platform helps. Every review helps. We also have information and agents talking on our Agent Upgrade with Jasmine and Alan Facebook group, and also carry over to the House of AC Discord, and we'll continue the conversation as well. So we love to keep talking this online, offline, and see you and hear from you in person, and not just have you listen to this podcast or live stream. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.